The union budget therefore, sir,
The budget of 2026
Its budget day in India
is estimated to be at 25.44 lakh crores.
India's economy looks strong. Growth is steady, deficits are coming down, but that's not the full story. India doesn't have one economy. It has two very different balance sheets. Most headlines focus on the center, where the fiscal deficit, meaning how much more the government spends than it earns, has come down from over 9% during COVID to under 5% today. When you include state government, the picture changes and the gap quietly shapes your tax, job and long-term growth. At a central government level, India's finances look far more disciplined today than they did few years ago. During the pandemic, the centre's fiscal deficit had blown out to over 9% of GDP. Since then, it has been steadily brought down to below 5% of GDP, according to recent estimates. Borrowing is also more controlled. Net market borrowing by the centre has stabilized instead of rising sharply year after year, which has helped keep interest costs in check. At the same time, capital spending has been pushed aggressively. The centre's Capex has more than doubled over the last 5 years, crossing 10 lakh crore annually, focused largely on roads, railways, defense and infrastructure. On paper, these all are sign of a healthy balance sheet. And to be fair, at the center, the improvement is real. But India isn't run by center alone. If you look at the chart on the top, the center fiscal deficit tells a clear story. It spikes during the pandemic, reaching 9.3% of GDP in 2020 to 2021 and then steadily declined over the next few years, falling towards 4.3% by 2026 to 2027. Now shift your attention to the states. State governments handle most of the everyday spending: education, healthcare, electricity subsidies, transport, salary and welfare. And their fiscal deficit partner looks very different. State deficit also rise during the pandemic, but instead of easing quickly, they remain elevated. From around 3 to 4% before COVID, state deficit jumped to 5.5% in 2020 to 2021, and then it's in the same range in recent years. In other words, while the center shows a clear path of fiscal consolidation, the state continue to operate under the persistent budget pressure. That's why even as the center's balance sheet improves and financial stress remain concentrated at the state level. Here is the core difference. The center has been spending more on capital expenditure, investment that boosts future growth. States, on the other hand, spend a large share on revenue expenses, salaries, subsidies, interest payments, and day-to-day operation. These expenses are hard to cut, and once they rise, they rarely come down. Let's simplify this. The center is spending 22% of its money on what we call effective capital expenditure. This is basically the investment bucket. 22 paisa out of every rupee is being used to build highways, high-speed rails and semiconductor plants. Things that will actually make India money in the future. But now look at the states. On average, Indian states are spending 82% of their entire budget on revenue expenditure. In simple English, that money is spent on daily bills, salary, pensions and interest, and only 16% is left for actually building the state. Check out the extremes in the image. States like Punjab, Kerala and Himachal Pradesh are estimated to spend more than 90% of their total budget just to keep the lights on. They are literally living on hand to mouth. If a state doesn't build assets, it doesn't create industries. And if it doesn't create industries, where will your job come from? This is the first economy, the one that invests, versus the second economy, the one that just survives. To manage this gap, state increasingly rely on center through tax transfer, grants, and even long-term interest-free loans. In other words, many states aren't financially independent anymore. The center's balance sheet is effectively supporting the states. That's not necessarily a crisis, but it is a structural imbalance. Look at the trend of these interest-free loans. 14 states are now financing more than 25% of their development through these central loans. Mizoram at 68% dependency. Even West Bengal is at 48%. Many states are no longer financially independent. They are increasingly dependent on central support to balance their budget. Center is effectively becoming the bank of mom and dad for half of the India. This gives the union government massive leverage. They can say, we'll give you the loan, but only if you reform your power sector or cut your subsidies. This isn't just an accounting issue. State finance decide how fast infrastructure projects move, how many state government jobs get created, how much borrowing happens in the system, and eventually how much tax pressure builds up. When states struggle, growth becomes uneven and long-term planning becomes harder. Now here, where the rules of the game have changed. The 16th Finance Commission has introduced a new criteria for how central funds are shared with states. A 10% weightage based on each state's contribution to national GDP. This means if you live in a state like Maharashtra, Gujarat or Tamil Nadu, your state is a winner. It drives national growth and gets rewarded with more central funding. But if you live in Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, your share is declining because you aren't growing fast enough. So no, this doesn't mean that India is in trouble. At micro level, we are building 12.2 lakh crore Capex engine. The center is strengthening its balance sheet and state now have clearer incentive to grow faster, attract investment and build sustainable finance of their own. If all of this feels complex, that's because it is. Tracking micro shifts, state finance and market cycles isn't easy to do alone. That's exactly why we built Stackwealth, where expert managed stock portfolio are designed to adapt to changing economic conditions. If you want your investment guided by research, not noise, check out the Stackwealth app. Link is in description and subscribe because understanding money clearly how better decisions get made.